back to Law and Crime, everybody. So we are awaiting a verdict in the Doomsday cult mom murder trial out of Boise, Idaho. The 49-year-old woman accused of killing her two youngest children as well as her husband's first wife. I have an excellent legal panel here with me to answer any of your questions. That's right. This is our live Q&A session. So send all of your questions to us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. We'll try our best to get to as many of them as possible. Now, before we even get to your questions, I do want to listen to some sound that I think the jury might be interested in revisiting during their deliberations. And that is the phone call that Lori's former friend, Melanie Gibb, recorded with the defendant and her husband. Take a listen.
I did have a question that I asked Al at one point, your brother, if I wanted to know, like where he was, and he said I did not want to know, and that he could not be found. So what does that mean?
I don't know why he would say that, but it's the same story. Like I don't even want Al to know. I don't want anybody to know, so that nobody has to be worried about it. I mean, nobody has to be questioned about it, so he can be safe.
Yeah. So how long are you gonna be away for? Are you ever gonna be able to come out and come back to society again, or are you gonna keep, come back? What does that look like?
I will do whatever the Lord needs me to do every day, so we'll see.
I just wondered if I was ever gonna see you again.
Absolutely, you will.
Okay, so maybe when they're done chasing you, you'll be able to come out again, or?
Yeah, it's a ridiculous thing for them to be working with Kay to find me. There's nothing that's gone on that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're working with her in some dark capacity. The police are working with her in some dark capacity. There's no reason for them to be after me in the first place.
Yeah, has she threatened you at all?
Yes, lots of times.
Okay, I'm back here with Law and Crime's Terry Austin and Law and Crime correspondent Gigi McKelvey, who's outside the Ada County Courthouse in Boise, Idaho, eagerly anticipating a verdict. And I believe we said that there'd be an hour between the announcement of the verdict and when it's ultimately read. Gigi, we got an interesting question. This is, let me just pull up the name real quick. This is Neener Bananas from YouTube. What is Lori's demeanor in court?
It was a little bit all over the place today. There were times she got emotional. Early this morning when they were talking about Colby, her oldest and only surviving child now, she started crying. Other people who sat on that side said there were times she did get emotional. I actually saw her personally wipe her eyes and have a little bit of a red nose when Rob Wood was doing the rebuttal. So that was interesting. There wasn't really anything graphic put up on the screen, but maybe just reality that this is it. This is her fate is now in this jury's hands, and Lori's always wiggled out of it, but not so much this one. And I think maybe that's probably the emotion with her more than anything, because we've never seen her really show any emotion in regards to graphic photos of the kids on the screen or anything like that.
And by the way, since this is going to be a live streamed verdict, presumably we are going to see the reaction from Lori Vallow Daybell as this verdict is ultimately handed down. Terry, I want to ask you something about the recording that we just listened to. That is one of several recordings in this case. There was the recording between Chad and Lori when they were searching Chad's house. She didn't seem too surprised. There was the recording between her and Colby Ryan, her son, the recording between her and her sister Summer Shiflett, where they're begging for answers as to why these kids died, and Lori is just not giving them responses. She's basically saying, you don't understand what happened. One day the truth will come out. I feel those recordings, those words of Lori Vallow Daybell, coupled with the text message conversations between her and Chad, are some of the worst evidence against her. Would you agree with me on that?
I agree wholeheartedly, no doubt about it. Listen, Melanie Gibb was supposed to be her best friend at the time, and they confided in each other. And at some point, Melanie decided, look, something is not right here. She is not talking about the children. And she was cooperating really at that time, getting these recordings in. And she's trying to find more information. What is it that you know, Lori? Why aren't you talking to us? They are investigating the disappearance of your children. You should be helping them. If you know anything, please tell them. And as you heard on that recording, Lori was not forthright. She just said basically that this is what is supposed to be happening, that all is well. And that is, I think, something that the jury is going to think about as far as how could any mother, knowing that their children are missing, not respond and try to help the authorities to locate those children.
So, Gigi, I think it's really interesting that there's been so much discussion in this case about the death percentages of the kids and how they were rated and whether or not they had demons in them or dark spirits. This is a good question from Smoky Cat Kathy from YouTube. Did Chad or Lori ever rate Chad's kids as being evil or good?
Not that we know of. I mean, it seems like they were spared from it all. The only thing I've heard negative in regards to Chad's kids was kind of towards the end of the trial, where a couple of his kids expressed concern that he wanted nothing to do with them, and his son Garth said, "I'm afraid I'm going to lose my dad too." So maybe he was distancing himself. But as far as rating his kids, never heard it. All 5 are alive and well. So very much unlike, unfortunately, Lori Vallow's kids and Chad's wife and Charles Vallow.
You wonder again if it's a situation where as the prosecution believe it was the kids, it was Charles Vallow, it was Tammy Daybell who were directly in the way of these two getting together and starting a life. That's something to think about. All right, Terry, I'm going to throw 2 questions to you. They're basically the same thing, but I want to give each of our viewers ample opportunity for their question to be heard. This is from Julio from YouTube. Will Chad Daybell accept a plea deal if Lori is found guilty? And AG from YouTube says, do you think Chad will make a plea deal? What do you think?
I think probably yes. There could be a plea deal, particularly if she's found guilty. He has, through his attorneys, seen all of the evidence that has been put forth in that case. And some of that evidence really is damaging as far as he is concerned. And if she's found guilty, particularly of all charges, and particularly as it relates to Tammy, I think he will be incentivized to try to take a plea deal. And I don't think he's going to get much. Obviously, he could right now face the death penalty because they haven't taken that off the table for him. And so I think the greatest deal he could get is prison for life and not get the death penalty. And I think if she's convicted on all counts, yeah, we'll probably see a plea deal.
A lot of questions about Lori's mental health, Gigi. Donna from YouTube. Did Lori get a diagnosis from a psych evaluation? Is she on any meds?
Well, we do know that Jim Archibald, in some pretrial motions, had said that we will learn her diagnosis at trial. However, Lori did not want mental health to come in, so ultimately we did not learn that. I know there was an order for her to be forced medicated if needed, so I assume she's on medication for whatever she was diagnosed with. And you know, it's kind of bizarre that mental health wouldn't come in. It would have been really the only defense they had other than throwing Chad under the bus at the last minute, as well as Alex a little bit too. Mainly Chad, though. But yeah, it's clear, you know, the one thing we've all consistently said is her reaction in that courtroom is just not appropriate for why we're here. You know, she can go from looking sad and wiping her eyes to 20 seconds later, she's kind of giggling and tilting her head back, and you know, with her attorney. So it's all over the map. You know, I have no doubt that there is something there with her. However, the lies we have on body cam, the text messages, if just because you have mental illness does not make you not culpable. And I think that that's going to be, maybe that's why they didn't bring it in, because really Lori will be her own undoing. I agree with what she said earlier. The videotapes, the body cam video, the text messages, that's going to be what sinks her, and it's going to be from her own doings. Yeah, well, look, there's no insanity defense in Idaho. If there was, this would have been a different case. Nope. Terry, we got about a minute left. Let me ask you real quick, the irrational thinker from YouTube on this theory. Do you think that the lack of remorse shown by Lori will sway the jury, especially when pictures of her children were shown? Absolutely. I think that jury is going to be swayed by sympathy. They understand that these are lives of innocent people who have been taken, particularly those children, and knowing what they had to go through and the brutality
totality of the deaths, I think regardless of the evidence, and obviously there was a ton of evidence put in, 60 witnesses, but I think no matter what, they're going to have sympathy for those victims, and I think they'll probably come back with a verdict against Lori on all counts.
All right. Well, these are fantastic questions. We're going to take more of them. We still have another half hour or so to go with our live Q&A session. So please keep these questions coming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We will do our best to answer them. And of course, we're in Verdict Watch, waiting to see what happens in the Lori Vallow Daybell trial. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back right after this.